This is your H-1B update as of October 2nd, 2025. Hi, my name is Nicole Gunara, Principal Immigration Attorney here at Manifest Law. Going to talk about some really hot topics related to the H-1B. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the government shutdown. So I know a lot of people are very worried about what will happen to their applications. How does this impact me when the government is not open for business at this time? So here's what I do want to make very clear. USCIS is still open. They are still receiving applications, receiving them in. You may see some delays when it comes to processing, when it comes to receiving receipt notices and the like. However, remember that USCIS is a self-funded agency, so the filing fees that we pay to them when it comes to these cases is what funds them to continue despite a government shutdown. Other than USCIS, courts are at the moment slightly impacted. It kind of depends on what region that you are in and which court that you are going to, but for the most part, you can see some delays and backlogs and cancellations when it comes to the EOIR. Separately, I also want to note, and this is probably the most significant impact, is that the Department of Labor is closed for business. So what does this mean for people, especially who have H-1Bs, E3s, and H-1B1s that rely on the Department of Labor? Essentially, if you already have your H-1B, you shouldn't have a problem. But if you needed an LCA or a labor condition application and it was not downloaded and certified before the government shutdown, you will not be able to access these documents, let alone file brand new labor condition applications. This can impact the H-1B, the H-1B1, and the E3 because in order to file those cases and process those cases, you do need a certified LCA. So please be mindful of that and also consider alternatives or ways to buy time if this directly impacts you. When it comes to consular processing, it isn't that the consular processes are removed by any circumstance. They do have some funding in order to continue. But if the government shutdown is prolonged and it extends for a long period of time, let's say in a few months, the reality is that you can see significant slowdowns, cancellations, and stoppages of appointments. Because unlike USCIS that is completely self-funded, the Department of State has some funding, but it can run out. Next, we're going to talk about a bipartisan bill that was introduced that seeks to reform the H-1B and the L-1. Now, before anybody panics, I really want to express to you all that only 5% of immigration bills that were introduced between 2015 to 2024 ultimately became law. But what is important to learn from this introduction of the bill is the movement that the government is going towards, especially from your representatives and senators that are in Congress at the moment. Essentially, these reforms are aiming to provide more scrutiny and more layers of compliance for individuals who are seeking the H-1B or who are sponsoring H-1Bs, in addition to providing added layer of scrutiny to the L-1. For example, for the H-1B, there will be changes to how wages are governed, how it is proven that this H-1B worker is really effectively needed in the United States, and the definition of specialty occupation. When it comes to L-1s, it's more monitoring systems, higher standards when it comes to genuinely being an employee in the United States, and also removing a lot of the, let's call it, outsourcing and third-party placement capabilities of both visas. If you do want to know more about what this bill looks like, do click the links that we're going to provide through our social media platforms or on our website at manifestlaw.com, as we do have a whole article and blog post discussing some of these items on this proposed bill. When it comes to the 100K fee, I know a lot of you are interested to hear if there's any new updates, any new statements, any new guidances. Here's what we have learned since the last time that we've posted about the 100K fee as of today on October 2nd of 2025. First and foremost, it seems that USCIS is still receiving in changes of status, like transfers in addition to extensions, without charging this 100K fee up front. Now, this could be an indicator that maybe these applications are not applicable to the proclamation. However, we won't really know until these cases have been adjudicated. The earliest that someone could have filed a new case in this kind of context would have been that following Monday on September 22nd, 2025. It has not been 3 business weeks yet, so even if you submitted for premium processing, we just haven't seen anecdotally any adjudications. However, that is a pretty good indicator that potentially these proclamations may not apply to those scenarios. However, conservatively, I would tell people hold off until we see some practical results, and if we do see these practical results, we will let the rest of you know, especially if you follow us on our social media through a new update. Outside of that, what we have also seen and confirmed is that H-1B1s and E3s, which can rely on similar mechanisms to the H-1B, have not been impacted at all. They have been able to travel in and out of the country. Even brand new H-1B1s that were issued post the 21st of September have been easily able to enter the United States. However, we have seen anecdotally some confusion by border officers and port of entry officers for those who may not be as familiar with the differences between H-1B1s and H-1Bs. If you are interested in some guidance to see how you can overcome that confusion, I do recommend that you come seek out a consultation with us or you reach out to us, as the reality is that you may need to prepare a letter or at least be prepared for that entry to explain to the officer the difference between your H-1B1 and the H-1B and how the proclamation does not apply to you as a Singaporean or Chilean national entering under those categories. That being said, if you want to know more about what is going on with immigration and any of the latest updates when it comes to the H-1B fees and anything related to this whole entire situation with the brand new proclamation, please don't hesitate to continue following us on social media. We will be regularly posting updates and some of the news that's coming out and our analyses as well.